Today, we're discussing WWE founder Vince McMahon stepping down from his role after a lawsuit accusing him of sexual misconduct was filed by a former employee. Twins who were separated at birth were reunited after a video of one of them went viral on TikTok. And Alabama becomes the first state in US history to use nitrogen gas in a capital punishment case. All in this, The World is Dark and Full of Terrors episode of What's going on, webfolk? Thanks for stopping by. Now, normally I'd have some 2 cents to start off with, but honestly, all I've been doing is playing Power World and scrubbing through the news, so yeah, I got nothing. Anyways, let's just jump into it. Alice, the wrestling man story first, please.
Vince McMahon, the founder of World Wrestling Entertainment, has resigned from the board of TKO Holdings Group. This decision comes after a lawsuit filed by former WWE employee Janelle Grant, who accused McMahon of sexual assault, trafficking, and abuse. McMahon has denied these allegations, describing the lawsuit as filled with lies and distortions. The lawsuit also implicates WWE executive John Laurinaitis and names WWE as a defendant.
Alright, so former WWE employee Janelle Grant made some serious allegations against WWE's Vince McMahon. She claims that McMahon coerced her into a physical relationship by dangling a job at the WWE. Of course, as it so happens, it wasn't a one-time occurrence, but an ongoing situation where Grant felt pressured to provide sexual favors in exchange for said employment. The affair allegedly ended in January 2022 when McMahon's wife discovered it. Grant signed an NDA after the affair ended, but just to add insult to injury, McMahon supposedly stopped making payments to her. In response to the allegations, McMahon has now resigned from the WWE. Now, Grant's not the only person to accuse McMahon of misconduct. Oh, that's a great term though. From now on, whenever something bad goes down in the WWE, misconduct has been afoot. Anyways, reports indicate that he spent over $12 million in hush money related to sexual misconduct allegations from various women over the last decade. The largest payout of $7.5 million went to a former wrestler who claimed coerced oral sex from McMahon, and another $1 million settlement was paid to a contractor who had received explicit photos of him. In other words, he was sending her dick pics. Let's be real. This pattern of using wealth and influence to silence accusers suggests an ingrained culture at the highest levels of the WWE where sexual exploitation and coercion were at best overlooked and at worst enabled. The multitude of allegations and settlements over the many years indicate systematic issues with abuse of power dynamics within the wrestling/entertainment industry. That was really hard to get through in one breath, and the situation warrants for further investigation. Because I don't think anyone is shocked by this, and I'm curious just to see how deep this rot goes.
In a heartwarming yet startling revelation from Georgia, twins Amy and Ano, born in 2002, were reunited through TikTok after being separated at birth. Their story is part of a larger, darker narrative where thousands of newborns were taken from their parents and sold between 1950 and 2005. This black market was uncovered by journalist Tamuna Musaridze, who was investigating her own origins. The twins were part of this scheme, declared dead at birth and then adopted out.
Okay, so let's discuss this story of two girls born in Georgia in 2002, unknowingly separated at birth, and then years later discovered each other in the most 21st century way possible, through a talent show and TikTok. Amy and Ano's tale begins in the Kirchkey Children's Hospital where they were born. Sadly, they were part of a black market operation where newborns were taken from their parents and sold. The scandalous practice went on from 1950 to 2005, involving thousands of babies. Now, fast forward to 2014, Amy's watching Georgia's Got Talent, and who does she see? Well, a girl that looks exactly like me. Her, not me. It rhymed, sorry. And it wasn't just her. People were calling her mom asking why Amy was competing under a fake name. The plot thickened in 2021 when Amy, then a blue-haired, eyebrow-pierced trendsetter, post on TikTok caught the eye of Ano living about 320 kilometers away. That's roughly 200 miles for us dumb Americans. The resemblance was uncanny, and soon enough, they connected on Facebook, discovering eerie similarities, same taste in music, same hairstyles, even the same genetic disease. The twins then confronted their families, demanding the truth about their birth, only to find out they were adopted and their birth certificates were falsified. Now, Amy went on a mission to find their biological mother, while Ano was a bit hesitant about the whole thing, and you can't really blame her for that. I'm sure there's just way too many questions involved, and that probably scares the hell out of anybody. But as fate would have it, a lead emerged from a Facebook group dedicated to reuniting families with children illegally adopted. A girl from Germany reached out. Her mother, Azza, had given birth to twins in the same hospital, the same year, and who were declared dead. A DNA DNA test later confirmed the unimaginable. Amy and Anno were Oz's long-lost daughters. So they flew to Germany for a reunion 22 years in the making. Now, having a twin unknown for decades would undoubtedly be psychologically traumatizing. Twins form a close prenatal bond in the womb that's disrupted at birth by the unexpected separation. Being deprived of the ongoing twinship during childhood can lead to profound feelings of loneliness, emptiness, and a sense of something integral missing. Having part of one's origin kept secret also severely impedes identity formation and self-understanding. For adopted twins, there are added complex struggles with self-worth, feelings of rejection, and difficulty trusting others. Though their serendipitous reunion was undoubtedly healing and miraculous, Amy and Anno now face an enormous task of slowly working through the trauma of their past separation. They now plan to enter counseling together and help build that sisterly bond and make up for decades of lost time. I'm sure there'll be challenges as they learn to incorporate each other into their lives and adapt their individual identities to being part of a twin pair. And I do have to say this, they would be a fantastic sample for a twin study about nature versus nurture. I mean, there aren't really a ton of those because of the uniqueness and rarity of the situation. Tragic, but opportunity? So, I mean, I hope they participate in one because I would love to see that.
Alabama has made history by executing a death row prisoner, Kenneth Smith, using nitrogen gas for the first time in the United States.
Yeah, so in a controversial move, Alabama has executed Kenneth Smith via nitrogen gas, making it the first time this method has been used for a state execution in the US. Smith was convicted in 1988 for murder for hire of a preacher's wife. This new execution method comes after a failed lethal injection attempt in 2022, when officials struggled unsuccessfully for hours to establish an IV for Smith. Now, Alabama has introduced nitrogen gas as an alternative, despite no prior use in human executions. Smith's final words express regret, stating, quote, "Tonight, Alabama caused humanity to take a step backwards. I'm leaving with love, peace, and light. Thank you for supporting me. Love all of you." The use of nitrogen gas remains contentious. While some claim it's the most humane execution method available, others, like the American Veterinary Medical Association, have deemed it unacceptable even for euthanization of animals. Smith himself had voiced terror about the prospect of nitrogen gas, fearing the possibility of suffering during the process. Introducing an untested execution method does raise some ethical concerns here. You know, is it right to use a technique whose effects aren't fully understood on humans? Some medical experts argue that nitrogen gas could induce feelings of suffocation and panic before the loss of consciousness. Additionally, there are risks if the procedure isn't properly administered. I mean, I know that all of them have risks, and I mean, the goal is death, but still. Hence, subjecting humans to an unproven execution method, no matter how supposedly humane, poses a moral quandary. The precedent set here also changes existing norms around ethical executions. Traditional execution methods like lethal injection have already faced increased scrutiny in the recent years after several visibly botched cases. The introduction of yet another novel technique further pushes the legal and ethical boundaries on acceptable state execution practices. It also highlights the ongoing worries about the fairness of the death penalty system overall. Concerns around racial biases, social economic disparities, and wrongful convictions continue to raise doubts about whether capital punishment truly serves justice, because studies do show disproportionate levels of death penalty convictions and executions for poor defendants and people of color. Over 185 inmates on death row have been exonerated since 1973, often decades after conviction, revealing the enormous risks of irreversible mistakes. Cases like Smith's remind us to carefully examine if state-sanctioned executions uphold fairness and moral standards. I mean, critics would argue it's simply not possible to equitably or humanely enact death penalties. I mean, on the other hand, supporters believe capital punishment brings justice to victims and their families, especially in heinous murder cases, so the debate seems unlikely to disappear as states test new execution methods like said nitrogen gas. Alabama's unprecedented move carries high stakes on all sides. For the condemned like Smith, new untried execution techniques raise fears of unexpected suffering during their final moments. For the victims' families, it revives painful questions about whether the death penalty provides true closure or accountability. For the legal system, it sets a questionable precedent that pushes ethical boundaries without consent on morality or effects. And for our society, it represents a possible step backwards in human rights, justice, and the integrity of the process. I mean, however much integrity you think it may or may not have. The real-world implications of executions like Smith's reach far beyond just one case. As we assess the ethics of state-sanctioned killings, it's vital we carefully consider what it says about our own moralities. Without earnest examination of these dilemmas, we risk perpetuating injustice under the guise of justice served. And on that, I'm gonna end it here. If you like what you saw, do me a favor and hit that like button. Your support really does help the channel out as we grow, which almost 707 months? Honestly, I really can't thank you guys enough. And as always, stay weird, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!